Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM22 Dragons. This is episode 49. We are starting the Torino Adriatica race with a team time trial here on station 1. It's only 21 kilometers in length, so we're going to have to push pretty hard from the get-go. Of the 7 riders, 5 are semi-capable time trialists. We don't have great time trialists at our team at all across the board. None of them are. But here, 2 are particularly bad. 5 are decent. So what can we pull out? Right now, I'm set to a 90. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but we'll see. I'm aiming for quick turns on this one with that shorter distance. But it means you have less recovery time, but it also means you have less time to burn through that red bar. And ultimately, you have to have pace. I had a comment after the last video that I did, career mode wise, in regards to this top. You can see Dai is not even keeping up with this pace, but he's a terrible time trialist, and well, that's it. He's already going. So Dai's out. Wow, look at that race day condition. That's pretty poor. We're looking at what, a +1 as net for the team, but Islamov, Schechter, Tung, the only ones that even have a positive race day condition. I do think that we are not quite hanging on with this 90 though. Let's try an 89. I don't care that Dai's not hanging on because he's truly awful, but Islamov has good race day. Of course, the best race day condition is the weakest time trialist in the entire bunch. It's still not making him good enough. Making him hang on for now, but you can see he's struggling at the back, and he's about to get dropped. We're going to be down to 5 riders. And between the 5, yeah, not a great race day condition. This could be a very mediocre time trial for us. Anyway, comment section, last career mode episode where I had a team time trial. It's absolutely a valid comment, nothing wrong with it, but the argument was made that if you go 85, the red bar doesn't go away. Yeah, totally, 100%. You have no issues if you go 85. Your team's going to get to the finish line and be at the back of the grid. That's the simple nature of it. You're going to be in Tung, you hanging on? Yeah, 89's just about hanging on for us. The other 2, Islamov, Dai, doesn't matter about their location. These 5 are just about getting through it. We were 8th place, 22 seconds down. I think that's all we could really hope for is a top 10 spot and be in touching distance for this one with this race day condition, with nothing but mediocre guys and a couple really bad ones. So having to keep the other 5 running in tandem, going weakly enough. Anyway, yeah, 85. You're just going to be slow, period. That's it. We don't want to be slow. You've got to push. You have to. That's the only way it can work. In fact, we move up to 5th place, being able to maintain. So that's good. We actually gained 5 seconds there at the end. So I'm actually encouraged by that time trial because as KBC goes top and bumps us down a spot and takes another 5 seconds, regardless, that is where we need to be. That's in touching distance. We're not too far down. There's a couple more teams coming through, but it's a competitive time. And riding at an 85 is just not going to get you a competitive time. We easily would have been a minute and a half to 2 minutes down by doing so. You've got to push it. You've got to push to the limit and get there. Now, sometimes you're going to push too hard and you're going to lose a little bit, but the push too hard, the trade-off, the lose a little bit, you lose 5, 10, 15 seconds at the end, sucks. However, if you gained a minute and a half in the meantime, losing that 15 seconds at the end because you pushed a hair too hard, ultimately you've got a net gain of a minute 15. And that's why team time trial, you've got to micromanage. You've got to push. It's the only way. Not sure I showed this to you last episode. At the tail end, we had 2 riders level up. We have 2 additional 5.5 star riders now. So there's 4 5.5 star riders. And of course our single and ready 6-star rider, giving us that much more strength. Guanghuai Dai is the first of those 2 that has leveled up. By the way, both of these 2 come in below our top 3 riders. So they are still just our 4th and 5th best rider. at this point on paper, but they have progressed. They have hit that 5.5 stars range. Dye and his 16 career victories has an 80 sprint now, still 79 acceleration. He was he a 78, 79 or a 79, 79 before, which I can't remember for certain, but I know the acceleration was a 79 already. He's gained that 1 point in sprint. It's not a massive improvement. However, the flat rating I do think has come up a little bit. I think he was in the lower 70s or mid. He's a 76 now. I think his stamina resistance has also improved. So it wasn't just that 1 point in sprint. I think he does have something good, something balanced, and we're not overtaking Scheckter yet. A gives Scheckter an even better lead out, giving the opportunity for potentially more wins, but also B becomes more capable himself of getting those on paper victories, which he doesn't get in the bigger races, where Scheckter has managed to get those when he was last with us anyway. The second rider that has also leveled up is Islamov. Islamov, 75 mountain, 80 for the hills. So definitely a puncher for us, but unlike most of the punchers that exist in the greater peloton, the Continental Pro kind of guys for the most part, he is much more well-rounded. With 75 mountain, he's capable. He's not elite. Islamov is never going to be a fantastic rider. He is a pure puncher who is good for Continental or Continental Pro level, not quite good enough for World Tour, but well-rounded just enough to be useful for us from time to time. I don't know if this guy's ever going to get a career victory, and he's just about maxed out. All he really has left is some time trial and Barrador points. So with an expiring contract this year, I don't think we're going to want to spend money on re-signing him, but releasing him to the world, somebody will sign him, and hopefully something like a Continental Pro team, and he can go have some success with them. Musabekov is probably picking up his first ever leadership role here today in the Paris-Nice race. Stage 4 already. It's an individual time trial with a couple climbs along the way. It's an interesting one how this really kind of shakes out as I've had some experience. But I've got Kang, Sedenkaya, non-time trialists in or just about inside the top 10. And even Demo and Ben Dodd. Ben Dodd's like a 61 mountain and a 60 time trial. And even he is still 30th, but there's a lot of riders still to go. So it's not like it's a fantastic time, but I think I've got things pretty figured out. You push pretty hard through the first half, and there's a big rest period that you get as you go over the top here. We're going to have to back off to an 85 a little earlier than I wanted for Musabekov, but you go into this big rest recovery period here, and it gives you a little bit more, and then you're cruising to the end. You can see how he's in third place, just 16 seconds down, and now we can push about an 87 all the way towards the finish line. Last 2K here. And he is going to cross the line in fourth, just 27 seconds down. So great time for Musabekov. That's going to drop. It's absolutely going to drop. But that is a really good time for a guy who's a 76 mountain, 74 time trial, and only had a single point boost. Torino stage 4 mountaintop finish. Kasim Reddy gets 5th on the stage. Going to move him up the standings quite a bit into the top 10, 39 seconds down on the overall leader, Kovili. Paris-Nice stage 7, big mountaintop finish. Musabekov's first big test ever as a leader. I'd say that's a pass. I mean, that's pretty dang good. Vlasov should have won comfortably, but he only gets 3rd. Lenny Martinez, big name for us. Igor Arrieta, all guys that have been on my teams in the past. This year or last year, but Musabekov, yeah, I'd say that's good. I mean, he's ahead of Beisiger. That's not bad for a 76 mountain rider. He's into the top 10 following that performance. Final stage, Paris-Nice, and Musabekov has hung on to an 8th place overall finish in his first test. I think that's wonderful for him. He's got a bright future. A 10-kilometer prologue time trial. Kasim Reddy ends up losing a ton of time on it. He's a 77 prologue. He's a 76 time trial. The one time trial in these two races that I don't go out and control myself, and he loses a big chunk of time, falls from 3rd place to 7th. I mean, look how far down he is. That's not even him. That's Scheckter. That's Locke. That's Lieberman. Reddy, a minute 13 down overall in 102nd position. Are you kidding me? The guy was in a podium position, goes into this as the leader, and he falls. Wow. That's the last time I ever heard quick sim on time trial. Jeez. Blase has taken the win ahead of Evenepoel. Martinez is up into 3rd, and Reddy slips all the way to 7th. That's absurd. His teammate Musabekov just got 8th in the sister race at Berenice, and Reddy, who's a million times more ready, falls from 3rd to 7th on the final day. Milano Sanremo, and we're into the final phase of this race with just under 50 kilometers to go right now, doing everything we can to take it easy and not have to put our foot down. We had a 2-man breakaway. That was it. Super easy ride on the day. Those two had a massive lead of 8.5 minutes, but with the absurd length of Milano Sanremo at over 250k, it didn't take long for the field to just put its foot down lightly and reel those two back in, even though it was such a long distance. There is one rider who has made a late break here, Marti. He's not going to be much of a threat from that far out, especially at 35k alone, but 2 more riders trying to join him to make something of it as we go through the last of the hills and head to the final 2 short climbs. Ultimately, this should come down to the sprinters, and we have our sprinters being protected by our climbers for that very reason. And we've brought our sprinters to this one. Dye, a -5 race day condition, but Scheckter has a +4, and a lot of team support is looking pretty good. It's the next climb that we want to keep in place, but we've got to be pushing hard here. It's the next climb that we want to sprint train and, set up and go for the finish. Here, it's about conservation and not getting dropped. You want to keep that forward position as best you can, only drift a little because there's not that long to go till the finish, but it's not looking like a big push right now, which is making it really set up for a sprinter's day. You can definitely see the fatigue after that climb, but here's the sprinters still right at the front and ready to go for that final one. And on this descent, you get a little bit of recovery in, and it's setting us up for that final run in. 18k, it's a little too far out to set things up just yet, but we will do so quite soon. 16k now. Certainly before the climb. 14k, a little bit further here. I think we'll take it to about 12.5. Long enough to kind of set your line. And so obviously it's Scheckter. Dye is still fine. I mean, he's got a -1 acceleration, but he's very much hanging in there. We can swap him and Patel if needed, but Patel is certainly the weaker in terms of the sprint. Lieberman has a fantastic 80 on the flat today, so great lead out rider there. Locke has a 78. Terskin's 76. Reddy's got a 77, so going by that flat order for the early train. Terskin is a little bit far back and caught in the middle, so we definitely want to push hard early. Where is his team? They all went backwards. That's why I wanted to push early. Okay, we're already on it. Here's Reddy. Base of the climb. There you go. And only 2 guys are really in place. Locke, let's go. Let's kind of help the team find their way through. There's Locke. There's Lieberman. There's Patel. There's Dye. There's Scheckter. Okay, we are getting into position here with Terskin still leading us through. Now just 8k to go. We're going to be going flat out for the rest of this here quite soon. Lieberman's still trying to get through, as you got a 3-man lead out already for AG2R there. Alright, on to Kasim. Ready? These guys will get a chance to recover that red bar a little bit, but Terraskin, let's drop to the tail end of this. 6K are going to go by pretty fast here over the top because of the downhill. Okay, ready, now, 99.
The finish line is getting close. The riders just passed the 5 kilometers road sign.
In fact, let's go flat out for ready and Locke. Oh, Locke's going to take over. 3K to go, ready. Trying to get some sort of gap, and that's just not happening. But Locke is now sprinting proper. Lieberman, Patel. It's 1K. You got Dye and Schechter coming on. Dye coming through. We've got a podium here. Can we do more? Can we do more? Or Geoffroy, who's the lead-out rider, gets a little bit too much advantage, but we get a 2-3 finish. 2 riders on the podium. It's a great result, but it's not a big boost like you would get otherwise. So close, so close. They squeeze one rider. They were clearly the main contenders with us. We were well positioned otherwise. Patel is right there in 8th. You've also got the entire rest of the team in the top 17. So the entire team, all of them. Now that's a huge points haul for the team overall. That looks really, really good on the outcome of that one. But the win does not go to us. That was our second key objective of the year. We only needed to finish top 10. We've got a podium out of it, so it was a super success. That was a pretty good boost to that sponsor confidence right now. In that happy zone, we've got a lot of time to push that up higher. But big tests. I mean, it's everything. The rest of the sponsor portion of the season, all 6 objectives are 2 stars or greater, and you're looking at stage wins in races that we're not necessarily going to get in and control very well. And then the other 3 are podium or better, including both of the Grand Tours that we have before that sponsor signing period. That's difficult. That is a difficult ask. I think we're going to take a lot of negatives out of those 6, which means we're going to need quite a few results elsewhere to compensate for that. And the national championships, now that we're World Tour, aren't going to have a significant boost anymore. They'll boost, but they won't be significant as it becomes less and less relevant. And of course, we have a team that's great for Continental Pro, but still pretty iffy for World Tour. So how many results can we pull? Well, you know, we needed results like that coming so close. And honestly, I think I might have done it to myself with Reddy when I saw the downhill and said, okay, let's attack with Reddy and see if he can open a gap and you know, maybe hold on. I think his attack prompted the response from the AG2R train, which then set them up for their sprint, which of course their sprinter couldn't hack it. We broke him, but his lead out guy was totally fine. And when he took off, he left his sprinter in the dust, but he also left us in the dust, and we closed him down with our sprinters, but they just couldn't overtake him. So I wonder, I wouldn't be surprised if my little attack with Kasim Reddy prompted that. Now, of course, I ended up beating their sprinter as a result of that move, right? It was too hard for him. He wasn't capable, but his lead out guy, it set him up for the victory, I think. So we had a very, very slow start to the season. If you remember, the first 2 months, we did nothing. We had low fitness levels. We weren't finishing anywhere. We're now 3 weeks into March. Over the last 3 weeks, we've had a number of decent results, top 10s, podiums, but we have not accumulated a mass haul of points on the season so far. You can see Schechter and Dye with their podium there have moved up the standings significantly, but here's where we're at in the Super Prestige. Schechter only just inside the top 20, so as a team, as expected, it's not great, but all of those riders placing so high. You can see just how much we just jumped. We were 24th a day ago. Now we're 3rd in the World Tour rankings. In the Super Prestige, a very similar story as we've moved up 21 spots. We now have 1,000 points on the season. It was a rough start, but I do think it's setting us up for a better season overall by carrying less fatigue into the classic season, which of course is just getting started. So there's a lot more action to come, and I think we're in great shape right now. We had some guys with low motivation over these races because we were resting them. They didn't hardly race. We didn't make them train hard. Fatigue is super low, but now is the time. Now we're going to get busy, and we've already moved up 21 spots. Let's see if we can move up another 10 during the classic season. I'd love to see us in the lead. We've got a little bit of a ground to cover. We're roughly half the points of KBC at this point. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.